Coach Smart, an opening statement from you as well, please.
It's an honor to see a lot of familiar faces. Spent a lot of time with Gary, having played as a player in the Peach Bowl twice and coached in it multiple times throughout my career. They do as good a job as anybody of entertaining the players and putting on a first-class event. So thanks to the Peach Bowl, we look forward to being there. It's always an awesome event, and it's grown from a long time ago, being small, to being one of the best there is in the business. So a lot of connection to the people and the organization and the Peach Bowl. A lot of respect for Ryan and Ohio State University. What a tremendous job he has consistently done year in and year out with that program, and just a lot of respect for the way they play the game. And we've watched them, studied them in years past, off seasons, spoken to their staff members, and just always knew that an opportunity to play them would probably come along, but not knowing when it would happen. And it came to fruition this year. So got a lot of respect for a lot of their players we recruited and tried to sign. And I've enjoyed watching them mature and play for him and become really good football players. But it should be an electric matchup, electric atmosphere. What a great venue to play it in. And it's really what college football is all about. I mean, these kids having an opportunity to play in a game like this.
We'll take our first question from Nathan Baird. Nathan, go ahead and unmute your line and go ahead with your question.
Thanks. This is for Kirby Smart. Just curious, you just said studying Ohio State in the off season. Why is that? Is it just part of studying a lot of teams in the off season? And what were the impressions that you came away with that you're going to, the main ones that you're going to try to convey to your team this week?
Well, I haven't studied them this season. I mean, I've studied them in off seasons. We try to go out and watch the best teams in the country and what they do and try to get better at it, especially when you watch your conference all year. You know, you get to watch all your opponents. You see what they do. You want to go kind of out of your league when you go in the off season to study. We've always looked at Clemson, Ohio State, looked across the country to find out, you know, how are people doing it really well and what are they doing differently. So in the past, when I've seen that, they've had elite players, and they've had really good, tough, physical guys. Look across the NFL, and it's littered with Ohio State players. So that's been in the past. I have not been able to really look at Ohio State so far this year.
Take our next question from Bill Rabinowitz. Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch. This is also for Kirby. Ohio State hasn't played Georgia in almost 30 years, but you did when you were at Alabama in the 2014 with Cordell Jones and that team. What are your memories of that experience in that game?
Long day. It was a long day. It was physical. I think it was Ezekiel Elliott, right? I mean, yep. He shredded what was a pretty talented Alabama defense, and just remember a lot of explosive plays back and forth. You know, I can't remember all the particulars, but I know they were very talented, very physical, and played with a very obvious purpose.
Question from Stephen Means. Go ahead, Stephen.
For Kirby, again, Kirby, you brought this up a couple of times, whether here on ESPN, talking about how Ohio State has had players on its roster in the past that you guys have recruited. When you get on these stages and you get an opportunity to play against some of those players in playoff moments, how much of an impact have you seen that have, whether it's here at Georgia or when you were at Alabama and other spots, when you're playing against an Ohio State team who does have like-minded talent?
It's just a great game. It's a great opportunity. Most of these kids, they all know each other. They got recruited by the same schools. They went to the same all-star games. They're very familiar with each other. You know, we recruit across the country. Ohio State recruits across the country. So we both have players from all different areas. They've got players from the state of Georgia. You know, we've got players from all over. So it makes for a great talent matchup. I know NFL teams really enjoy watching these kids go against each other, and just a lot of respect for the program and the way they play the game.
This is for both coaches. I know the portal's opening, quote unquote, tomorrow. How are you all handling the balance of that not being a distraction over the next few weeks versus, you know, you don't want to fall behind in that process?
Yeah, I echo a lot of the same sentiments as Ryan. I mean, we try to build it where they want to be part of our program, and if they don't, then I certainly acknowledge that as an opportunity. And I think, Seth, you're asking also about, I guess, maybe the value that's in the portal. I mean, you know, we went a year where we didn't take one. So you're always going to look and people try to reach out once they go in the portal. It's there. They have people on staff at Ohio State, and we've got people on our staff that are going to be constantly looking through there and watching tape, evaluating it. But the focus is on our team, and it wouldn't be fair to all the guys playing if you weren't focused on your team. So you can't put a ton of focus and attention to looking for kids in the portal and things like that. I mean, for us, it's really about who do we know, who do we trust, who do we think fits our culture, and finding the right people. But our focus will be on ourselves.
Yeah. Hey, if I may, I'd like to ask each coach a question. Ryan, first off, starting with you, you just mentioned this is basically a home game for Georgia. Last year, unfortunately, Buckeye Nation didn't seem overly eager to want to make the trip out to Pasadena. So how important is it for Buckeye Nation to be willing to make the trip down to Atlanta? And then for you, Kirby, you just played there last night, and you're going to be returning less than a month later, and you played there a handful of times before. So does this feel kind of like a home game for you guys? And is there a certain comfort level in returning to a place that's a little more than an hour away?
Yeah, I certainly think it's great to be, in Atlanta. I think it fell that way because in the rotation that it was, Atlanta's year. We certainly have gone and played in the Rose Bowl out in California, and we've also been to Miami to play in semifinals. And I know Ohio State's been all over as well. So, once you get to the venue, and it's different than you coming in for a game when your kids have been in classes and they just fly in for the game. It's different when you're there for a whole week. We'll practice at the Mercedes-Benz. They'll practice at Mercedes-Benz. It's not like you're going to walk in there and have not seen the place. And the field is the exact same length as any other field we'd play them on. The ticket sales, Ohio State, as I understand it, has never had a shortage of alumni base or money, because I go against Ryan all the time in recruiting. So I know how strong their alumni base is and how proud they are of it. So I don't look for it as it's home as in the state of Georgia, but the fan bases will both turn out, and they both have great fan bases. And I think that's great for the Peach Bowl and great for the state of Georgia and Gary's staff to have two programs of this magnitude playing in this game.
Yeah, question for Kirby. We got to see AD yesterday more than we have since the opener. Just what stood out to you about how he played, and specifically how he was able to hold up physically?
He's got to work on his conditioning level. He hasn't played consecutive snaps as much as we'd like, and he's really got to work hard on that. It was good to get him back in there and get him in the rhythm. I don't think he was 100% last night, but it's important to get his confidence back and get him back rolling. And he's worked so hard to get back and tried so hard to have a role. I thought he really did a good job emotionally last night, not being up and down, because he's a kid that wants to do. He's so energetic. He wants to do well, and sometimes he presses. And last night he settled into the flow of the game nice, and it was nice to get him out there some.
Hey, this is for Kirby and for Coach Day. I mean, I know that this next 3-4 weeks is good to help get guys healthy again, but what kind of challenges can it present as well when it comes to kind of finding the balance between practice and days off and making sure your guys don't cool off too much going into this playoff game?
Yeah, a lot of the same things, Ryan, reiterated. The management of the schedule is critical. I think having been a part of it and done it multiple years at Alabama and now at Georgia, it is so critical to your success, how you manage that time, not just us as coaches, but how these players manage time. I also think the mindset and the framework you approach it with, there's certainly a mindset to it. And I told our team today that, last year's team in that same meeting had a different frame of mind than maybe our team right now does. And that's so critical, how you manage the next month and how we as coaches manage it and how the players manage it. And with Ohio State, there's a breath of fresh air of opportunity. We've never had the fortune of saying, all right, we were out and then we got back in. There's a couple times we got really close to getting in, but the excitement that provides and the energy is like it's a kick of momentum that we have to understand that, and we have to be able to match that and understand that there's a piece of that you got to know. But managing the 27 days is just critical, because sometimes your guys think 27 days is a long time, and then it's right up on you before you know it.
Yeah, this is for both coaches. Brian, you touched on this earlier, and Kirby, you obviously mentioned how you guys don't take any players to the transfer portal. Why is it important for your programs to continue to build through the high school ranks and recruit guys and try and develop them over the course of multiple years, as opposed to just getting portal guys for 1, maybe 2 seasons max?
Yeah, a lot of the same sentiments. there's kids on that team last night that they earned it, and it was hard. Stetson talked about it. I mean, he's like, it's hard to play here. It's Chris Smith. It's hard to play here. Kenny McIntosh. I mean, the amount of time he waits hard, and we've had successful guys come from the portal, and we'll continue to utilize the portal. I don't think it would be foolish to think that you could be successful in college football and not evaluate and recruit and look through the portal. But you have to be smart what you bring into your program, especially if you want to keep dynamic of the culture we'd like to keep. And, you know, I want to be sure you understand, Connor, I'm not saying that we don't recruit the portal. I'm saying that we just did not have anyone last year that we got. We certainly are always going to look and shape it and make sure kids fit our culture. That's why, to me, it's so critical now in recruiting to evaluate more players, because you may get the guy on rebound and you better know a better history than just what, you know, somebody calls and tells you about them. I want to know when they came on the visit. I want to know when we talked to them. I want to know when they came to our camp, because I'm a lot more likely to take a kid that I think is wired the right way, even if he's coming from the portal, but I better have known about him coming out of high school.